we love, trying to make people think about stuff. We don't want, we want to throw some curveballs out there and entice the mind a little bit.
Hey y'all, this is Megan Kane.
And I'm Dylan Turner, and we are Parker Barrow.
And you're listening to my weekly mixtape with Brian Coburn. Y'all please enjoy the show.
What is going on, friends? Welcome to my weekly mixtape. I'm your host, Brian Colburn. Today I'm joined by Parker Barrow, a Nashville-based Southern rock band built around the real-life chemistry of Megan Kane and Dylan Turner, who just so happen to be my guests tonight. What started as a chance meeting turned into years on the road, living out of an RV and chasing something bigger. And you can hear every bit of that journey in this music. From Jukebox Gypsies to the new album, Hold the Mash, this is a band that's not just evolving sonically, but getting more intentional about who they are and why they do it. Megan and Dylan, it's great to have you both on the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
appreciate you, brother.
Well, I'd like to start with the basics here. So, Megan, we'll start with you.
Yeah.
What does the word mixtape mean to you?
To me, a mixtape is the CD that you would burn before you went on road trips with your family. That would be what I grew up a mixtape on. Other than that, maybe like just a playlist or something on Spotify is how I would define a mixtape.
All right, Dylan, same question to you.
Yeah, mixtape for me was always just like kind of a burnt CD. I think a lot of people kind of maybe in like the hip hop world, a mixtape's like your demo.
Yeah.
So either like a burnt CD or like a demo, I guess is what I would call a mixtape.
All right. Because everybody's answer to it's different. And I love hearing the spectrum of answers over nearly 200 episodes of this show. So now let's start at the top and work our way down. I want to start with the band name, Parker Barrow. How did the connection to Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow come into play?
Yeah, for us, it kind of happened during 2020. Obviously, we had some time off from the road, and one of the things we did to pass some of that time was we watched a bunch of the Bonnie and Clyde films, The Highwayman and the Bonnie and Clyde movie, and we sort of found some oddly interesting comparisons to their story and ours. And maybe it was just out of boredom that, I don't know, but, we tended to focus on kind of the romantic aspect of their story and, not so much what they were doing, more of the fact that they were doing it together. And we just saw a lot of parallels to that, to what we were doing at the time, living out of an RV that, had no air conditioning, no heat, just us and our dog here. She's sitting behind me. You know, and we just realized, we're kind of had a kindred spirit to them in the kind of life of always being on the move, always being on the run, us running towards something rather than from something, but just kind of saw a likeness to them and our story. And we knew that we wanted the band name to tell our story. That was very important to us. And when we kind of stumbled upon that, was the first time that we were like, wow, I think that kind of encapsulates who we are, not so much what we're doing, but, just that nomadic life of being on the road and kind of not having the choice to stop. We've always felt like we have to be moving or we're falling behind. So that's really where it came from.
Now, there's a romanticism tied to Bonnie and Clyde, but their story was, if you think about it, really rooted in survival, like you were talking about. When you look at your own path musically, the sacrifices, the uncertainty, the years on the road, Does your story feel closer to that reality than the myth of who Bonnie and Clyde are?
Yeah, I think so, 'cause I think, like, with them, like you said, it was a lot of survival, and with us, I mean, we've been doing this together for 8 years, and prior to that, we both have had our own journeys in music. I mean, Dill was touring 5 or 6 years, 7 years prior to even meeting me, and then when I met him, I had just moved to Nashville, and I had moved into my own place, on my own at, like, 20 years old and didn't really know nothing, and then we really are like a all or nothing type of people, so we jumped into it, and it was a lot of survival of being out here because this is what we love, a lot of sacrifice. I think for any touring musician, you can relate to the life on the road, and you know what it takes to be out there and be away from your families and away from the people you care about most, chasing a dream that may or may not work out, but you might as well try. So I would definitely relate it a lot to the survival of their story.
And when you look back at that period, the beginning, the real tough times, do you miss any part of it in some cryptic way, or are you glad that it's in the past?
I wouldn't say that we miss it
Yeah.
necessarily, but I will say it is some of our fondest
Yeah.
memories. The hardest times are always the ones that when we look back, we have the biggest laugh, and it just makes us so thankful, not only for the path that we followed, but where we're at now. Because it wasn't only just like the sacrifice, and so, going without. It was also, we've cycled through a lot of musicians in this band, and not always felt like we had people who were there that had our back, or
Mm.
that had the same values or goals as us. And right now it's kind of, at least as far as we've come so far, it's like the golden era of Parker Barrow as far as that's concerned. We got a great group of guys with us that have the same vision and same dreams, and we've been able to kind of build out from that and create a family on the road where we feel comfortable, and we have people that are there to help us get through the hard times and celebrate the good ones. And that makes everything so much easier. But, as far as like where we started, we had great times even back then, you know what I mean? Like, just even just like picking our snack for the week,
Yeah.
whenever, we couldn't afford 2 snacks, so we had to
We
agree
would
on
snare
one.
one snack.
We just snare one.
Mostly
Yeah.
flavor blasted
Flavor
goldfish.
blasted goldfish always won the battle. But no, I mean, just great times, and we're so thankful for it. It's made us who we are. It's made us resilient.
And it set us up for a really, really good marriage.
Yeah.
If you can go through that and you can survive that, then honestly, the marriage part of this is the easiest
Sounds
part of it.
natural.
So
Yeah, that's the key, it sounds like.
that's the
Yeah,
key.
yeah.
Just lock yourself in an RV with no heat and AC for a whole year, and you'll be set.
I'm going to use that. I've been married 20 years. Maybe I'll
There you
look back
go.
with my wife and be like, if there's ever a rocky time, let's just
That's
go
rocky
live in
time,
an
just
RV.
try.
Yeah.
Just try.
Yep.
Now, Parker Barrow, there's something inherently Southern rock about band names that feel like they could be a real person, but are actually a band. So you think
Yeah.
like the Marshall Tucker Band,
Yep.
Molly Hatchet, Leonard Skinner.
Mhm.
Was that tradition in the back of your mind along with Bonnie and Clyde when you landed on the name?
I wouldn't say it was in the back of our mind. It was more of a happy accident.
Yeah.
We
Eh,
definitely like the fact that it is sort of like, what's the word? Like, people really have to think about it.
Yeah.
And more times than not, we will show up to a show and someone will be like, "Hey, Parker, Parker," you know what I mean? Like, we're
Yeah.
loading in, and someone who's got tickets to the show, they're like, "We can't wait to see you tonight, Parker." And it's like, ha ha. Like,
Yeah.
you didn't do your homework.
I think it's a good conversation piece when people come to our shows for the first time because a lot of people do think I'm Parker. I am certainly not Parker. We are Parker Barrow.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been cool, but I do think that for some people they do latch on. They're like, "Oh man," I'm like, "I'm the only girl in the band, but that's all right. It's all of us. We are Parker Barrow."
Yeah.
So the website of weareparkerbarrow.com is not just a clever name.
Not just a clever name. No, it wasn't just because parkerbarrow.com was taken.
Yeah.
So when the band started to feel more fully realized, because you said you cycled through band members for a while, what actually changed for the band? Was it confidence, decision making, or maybe just less second guessing of the road you were on?
It was really it really wasn't until our guitar player, Alex Bender, joined in 2023 that was the first time that we really had a solidified member.
Yeah.
We did a lot of like what they call the hired gun thing where,
Mhm.
we'd hire guys for a short period of time and do some shows. And, with Alex, he was really the first one that kind of, it was more so maybe his confidence in us that we saw for the first time. Someone who brings a lot to the table and is extremely talented that, we could see saw something in what we were doing that attracted him to it to a point that he was like, I want to be in this, and with that, getting to spend time on the road and now having another person be a part of these experiences, it's another perspective and a fresh take on the things that we were going through, which I think also just helps a ton with the creative process in this band and, being able to relate to each other through experiences, but also experiencing those things, in different ways. We each, we all have our own eyes and we see things the way we see them. So it kind of expanded our, broadened our horizons, I guess, and just gave us more ammunition in the tank to write songs and to spend time on the road and fellowship. And, it's just been awesome. And, even since then, just last year, we really kind of rounded out the band with our other guitar player, Will Tipton, our keyboard player, Eric Safka, and our bass player, Kyle Pryber. So now with those guys in the fold, we're experiencing that in a whole new way again and just genuinely, loving our time together. And it's funny because, like, last year we went out for I think 3 months and like straight, we didn't go home. And a lot of times I think we were all like, okay, when are we gonna get tired of each other, And by the time we got home, it was like, hey, like, you guys want to come over for dinner or something? Because like we miss y'all. So it's really been good. It's been super helpful for us. Also, just having guys that are bought in and
Yeah.
seeing the vision is a big part of it.
Fantastic. Well, now that we've talked about the foundation, let's dive into Hold the Mash. The title of the album has a sense of humor to it, but the themes across the album carry some weight. Was that contrast intentional?
I think really where the name came from is we were kind of one of the singles off of this album, and there was a song called "Make It." I was literally in like the vocal booth, and I had like this whole vision like come to me while singing that song of like of the aesthetic of this album and what it would be like to plan this out in a kind of a cheeky ways. And we just got our first trip over to the UK last year, and honestly, like bangers and mash is one of Dill's favorite dishes to make, and I just literally I had this, like, full vision. I came back into the studio room, and I was like, "Guys, what do y'all think about this?" And
Yeah.
we all were just like, "Man, I would maybe it can work. Maybe it'll be
It
fun
was
'cause
it was sort of a joke
it
at
was
first,
kind of a
what I mean?
joke."
Like, it
Yeah.
was like I think our producer said something about, like, "Man, you guys got nothing but bangers on this
Yeah.
record," And then it was like we were recording the song "Make It," and it's like, like, it just kinda started and
There's
then
stuff here that we can work with.
yeah, so it took some massaging, and
Yeah.
we finally found something that was, cheeky enough, and also, like, we love, trying to make people think about stuff. We don't want we wanna throw some curveballs out there and entice the mind a little bit. So, yeah, we are goofballs. None of us are very funny outside of our own circles. Like, I don't think the world thinks we're funny, but we all think we're hilarious, so we just love to have fun. And,
Yeah.
even with, some of the themes, I guess, or content in our music, just because it can be sometimes, I wouldn't say heavy or even deep, but I guess it's not surface level. But even through that, we don't take it very seriously. It's what we do, it's not who we are. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's kind of a way for us to just have fun with this. It's all about having fun. You got to enjoy, yourself and what you do. So all of this stuff, even like with the graphics that Megan's working on for the vinyl and for the inside, all the kind of collectors items, it's all just fun for us.
It's a good
We
time.
enjoy it and hope other people do, but if not, like, we have such a good time creating it together, and that's really all that it is for us. Is It's a way for us to connect and have a good time.
Now, as I mentioned at the top of the show, this is the follow up to your 2023 debut, Jukebox Gypsies. How did you approach building on that foundation without just repeating what worked the first time around?
Well, it really helped that we had the inclusion of Alex, our guitar player, in this process. I think just that alone set a whole new standard for going into recording this next album because we had a whole new mind in the process of creating the songs and the composition of the songs and everything. I think with moving him in, it was a pretty easy transition into a new, more defined sound because we were a more defined group. We were a unit at that time. So I think that alone already set us up to where this album was going to sound different than Jukebox Gypsies no matter what. But I do think with this we were very intentional with the songs that we picked for this. And they were all songs that we all genuinely loved and had a very good time recording and going through the process of figuring them out and working with our producer Stephen McKnott, who played all the instruments on the first album. He played all the guitars and bass and everything. So with having Alex on this one, even the playing style alone too, just kind of changed everything. And I think it just defined our band a little bit more, and it made it easier for us to step into our shoes that were maybe a little bit too big for us with Jukebox Gypsies.
Well, the album opens up with the stomping track, The Healer.
Charging through the mud, you got your breath steady, hands covered with the blood. Now don't you think it's time and turn from the world in a selfish way? You know there's still a good light shining if you hadn't made you go. Oh no, if you let it be, just take it to the mountains, show you what you wanna see. Take my hand, don't be afraid, I can give you everything. Walk with me up to the mountain, and I'll lead you to lead. I can be the healer, let the spirit set you free.
Last November, you released an EP of the same name, where this song actually closed out the EP. Did the strong response to the track, including the lyric video, which on your YouTube channel is your second most popular viewed video just behind Back to Birmingham, maybe play a role in moving it to the opening slot of the full-length album?
Um, you know, we don't it's tough doing this because like we don't put a ton of emphasis on a lot of those numbers. You know what I mean? Like it's very easy to get caught up in those numbers. Obviously, you got to have those numbers to grow, and it's nice to know where you're at. I think really for us, what it was is as we started to listen to the album as a whole and getting to hear it as a full piece, that one just for us like was like, man, if I was to turn on a record, like if the Black Crowes were releasing this record and I turn on that first song, what should it sound like? What should it make me feel like? You know, and that one, as we listened to him, that one kind of just started moving its way to the top. Like with the EP, it sort of was like a tester, I guess, to put these songs out and see how people react. But as far as putting the record together, it was more so just I don't know if it's selfish or not, but it's kind of like, what would we want out of a record? What would we like? How would we like to hear this music? You know what I mean? And we try to put ourselves in a place where it's like we haven't heard these songs, you know, over and over again through the recording process and everything. And when you can do that, kind of turn that off and hear them brand new, I feel like the order of the record kind of writes itself, and it's you just kind of start to, oh, that's a first song, or that song probably should go, middle of the record, or this one's definitely the closer, you know what I mean? This kind of sends us into a new place. So it's just I don't think we put a lot of emphasis on the numbers. It was more so just what made sense in our ears and hoping people can hear it kind of the same way we do.
Mm.
Well, I want to just let those listening know that you can hear all the songs as well as view all the videos that we're discussing tonight over on the episode page at myweeklymixtape.com. Now, I want to dive into something you said earlier because you mentioned another band name, the Black Crowes.
Yes.
And I'm going to bookend this because we just talked about The Healer, which starts the album. So let's go to the other end of the album, the closer. Anybody who listens to my weekly mixtape knows that I am a psychotic level fan of cover songs. I've done many episodes dedicated to cover songs. So I would be completely remiss if I didn't bring up the band's extended take on the Crowes' My Morning Song.
Dizzy family last night. I saw some kind of new light. Ooh, I woke up in a whirlwind. Hey, baby, can you watch my head spin? The spectacle that made you cry. It's a thrill of million plane ride. It's summertime at ringside. Oh, no lie. Watch me down into the seven seas. Bury me with a ruby ring. Kiss me, baby, underneath the sunbed. Make my hands blow away. Make it blow away. I sick of going outback, doing a favor paid dinner. So why they wanna back talk me? There's a problem what they see. Like my table seem a top turn. They call my bed and if I work hard, is that enough for me? Well, it could be. Watch me down into the seven seas. Bury me with a ruby ring. Kiss me, baby, underneath the sunbed. Make my hands blow away. Make it blow away.
Since this has been a part of your live set for a while now, what made the band decide to A, bring it into the studio, and then B, open it up in almost a jam band sense by 2 minutes more than the original track by the
Yeah.
Crowes?
I think like for us, we love our live show, like or we love playing live shows. I feel like that's where the band does thrive, and I think we all have been over the moon about finding songs and extending songs. If you come to our shows, don't be alarmed if a song goes a little bit longer than the recorded version because it probably will. But I think with this one in particular, we've been playing it for about a year or so now. And every time we play it, it takes on this life. And of course, the Black Crowes is one of our favorite bands. And obviously, we pay a lot of homage to them and to the path they paid for bands like us to come in and try playing music like this. But getting to take a song like that, a song so powerful, and to have all of us just have our own. We kind of went into the studio with it with like really no plan in mind. It was like, we're going to play this song, we're going to have a good time doing it. And it was the first time that all of us really got into the studio together to jam a song out. So this song does feature everyone in the band. It's very much what we would want you to hear when you come to a show. I think it's an incredible song, and we're just honored that we got the chance to cut it and put it on our record.
Yeah, it's funny because we just played one of our favorite places that we play in Virginia. It's this little brewery outside of Charlottesville, and we met a fella there. I mean, it's probably been 2 or 3 years ago now, and Alex he would do like a little My Morning Song tease before it was actually, we would do Gimme Shelter, but before that, he would
Ah.
tease My Morning Song, and this guy came up to us. It was the first time he had seen us, and he was like, "Dude, why didn't you guys finish my morning song?" And us as like huge Black Crowes fans, we were like, "Oh my gosh, we have done a disservice here to a brother of the Crows," you know what I mean? And it was like, so we made sure after that that we would never make that mistake again, you know. So we started adding it to the set, and it started to become this moment for us in the show. There was several nights that we played it that we really just kind of felt overcome by it, you know what I mean? And it was like we just really kind of, I think it helped us gel as a band, a new band with new members. That song kind of helped us like learn each other, and it kind of, I think, getting through that song took our band to a new level. And because of that, we knew we wanted to put a cover on the record. We batted a couple around. I think we all knew the second we wanted to do a cover that it's gonna end up being my morning song. Like, we'll talk about some other ones, but like
Yeah.
this is the one we want to do. And we're all about the jam band stuff, Allman Brothers, the Black Crowes, all of that stuff. And our producer sometimes likes to keep things tight and polished, and which we're very thankful for that. He's helped us with that and keeping us on track. But we went in with this one, and before we even had a chance to say it, he was like, "I think this is the one that you guys can cut loose on." And we were like,
Yeah.
"Thank you." So we took a little bit of a different approach of recording this one than we had in some other stuff in the past. There's no click track. There's no, this is just like straight up, this is what happened in the room. We did some overdub stuff, but the foundation of it was really like, let's just get in there and jam and kind of get, the arrangement that way, and then we'll build on it. So it was a lot of fun for us. It was kind of, like we said, I think it's sort of a picture of the evolution and maybe what's coming next for the band. So we're very excited about it. Like Megan said, honored to cut such an amazing song by an amazing band, and just so people can relate to it and love it as much as we do.
Well, as someone who's a huge fan of Southern Harmony, I think you guys nailed it. And I
Oh,
think it's
thank
a
you.
great gateway into the band's live show, because it's kind of a transition from the shorter studio tracks to what
Yeah.
you experience at a Parker Barrow show. And I
Yeah.
feel like it's kind of that gateway song. And the fact that you guys do it with such a love of the original,
Yeah.
it doesn't come across in any way, shape, or form as color by numbers, because you're putting
Yeah.
your stamp on it. I love the gender flip. I love gender flipped covers. It adds something unique to it
Yeah.
without really reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
And the jamming part is something that the Crows do in their own way. So it's like you putting the Parker Barrow stamp in the middle section there,
Yep.
kind of saying this is a little bit of who we are shining through in this cover. So bravo.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much.
Now I want to dig into another track that I feel like has a little bit of a Black Crowes swagger, maybe mixed in with some Rolling Stones, and that's the track Blinded.
Have you ever had your back too close to the wall? But the fire, baby, burning you and it's wrong. Ain't that the reason for indecision? Say how to make up your mind. 'Cause the longer that we're living, truth becomes harder to find. 'Cause you're blinded by the light. Yes, you're blinded by the bright, blinded by the best side again. I hope you brought your shades, honey.
I absolutely love the message of this song, especially in a time where so much of life and the music industry feels driven by validation and social media. I deal with it with this podcast. It's a necessary evil. I hate being on social media, but you kind of have to be there.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you're not there, you're not a part of the conversation.
Right.
And the tricky part about this is the industry often rewards exactly what the lyrics in this song are pushing against. So as musicians, do you ever find it challenging to strike that balance without feeling like you're working against the system?
I think at times we have certainly felt that way, and it's not so much working against the system, but it's working against really what God has for us. And what we have found through our experience is that when you push back against what God wants to do in your life,
Mm.
everything gets a lot harder for you to do. And, we've been blessed over the last year or so to have some amazing people who have poured into us and to be involved in a great church in our hometown that's really led us closer to the Lord and really opened our eyes to see the earthly validation, these numbers and stuff, they don't matter. If this is what we're supposed to be doing, and we both have felt since the beginning we've had a shared calling to do this, we know that God's going to open the doors for us to walk through. He's going to provide for us as long as we are seeking his will, seeking the kingdom. God's going to open those doors. So it's really become, the forefront of our lives and kind of that revelation and some of the confirmations we've gotten from chasing that path, not our path, but his path.
Mm.
We've really seen a flip and a change, and even the way that people react to our shows, it's really been incredible. Sort of just being able to be a witness to the glory of God and what he's doing in us and through us is has been amazing. So we tend, like I said, not to try to chase after the numbers or the validation. We always say, don't get me wrong, we're very thankful for each and every person that comes to our shows, but we're doing this for an audience of one. If
Mm.
it's pleasing to him, it will be pleasing to the people that it needs to be pleasing to for us to continue to do it.
That's a very enlightened way of looking at things.
Yeah. It's definitely, I mean, this life will get you if you let it, It's one of those things that you have to keep your eyes focused on things eternal, or else you will get sucked into a world that is not here for you. They will convince you that they are. There's a lot of, especially when you're being vulnerable and putting your music out there and you're exposing yourself to the opinions of millions. It is a very scary thing to do, and we've seen it in our with videos that go get a lot of views or get a lot of streams and stuff, and there will be 100 comments, but just the one will get you. Just one will. I think people don't realize that we're human, and we have to give grace to the people that are who are saying negative things, because it does get to everybody. Everybody is very competent behind the keyboard, and that's fine. And but it's like you do have to, if you don't keep your eyes set on the things that are eternal, those things will take you down and it'll make you not want to be a part of this anymore, make you want to step away from music, make you not want to stand out into the limelight, post that video, release that song. Like all of those things, if you aren't focused on the right thing, it will get you and it will tear you down and you'll lose all your confidence. So for us, it's very important for us to keep our eyes fixed on him and his purpose for us so that we don't get lost in the little silliness of this world.
I have to say it's a powerful message because coming from somebody who's a podcaster, I live in a world where I'm putting out opinions, and I
Yeah.
know that there's going to be people that don't agree with the opinions I put
Yeah.
out there, but
Mhm.
it's a welcome open dialogue.
Yeah.
However, sometimes on social media, people don't see it as a dialogue. They see
Right.
it as a way for them to attack
Yeah.
a subjective opinion about art, which
Yeah.
is very strange because in
Mhm.
my mind, art is always meant, it's so subjective.
Yeah.
What pleases one might not please another, but neither of them are wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
Very
that's the
much so.
beauty of subjectivity in
Yeah.
music. It's
Yeah.
something that I preach on this show and hope
Mhm.
that those listening get out of that, because
Yeah.
not everyone's going to agree, but there's always some form of music for somebody out there.
There is. There's enough for all of us to share our music, whatever that is, and it's completely free to
Yeah.
not comment or not to post. It's completely free to scroll on past something you don't like.
Amen. Now, I
Yeah.
do want to dig into one more thing about social media while we're on the topic, because Blinded really struck me, and kind of the whole battle that I face with social media
Mhm.
is how much do you have? Because you could literally spend your entire time not working on a podcast, not writing new
Mhm.
music, not practicing songs, and just become a cog in the social media wheel.
Mhm.
Do you think that social media has changed how success is measured in bands, and maybe not in a good way?
I think that social media, like everything else in the world, can be used for good and it can be used for evil. And I think that you have to find your place in social media. Some people, that's where they make their money. That's how they live their lives. That's where they
Mhm.
get their income. And like it launches bands. I think it's when you put too much into one or the other that you lose both. You kind of have to have a good balance between putting yourself out on the road, putting yourself in sticky situations, getting yourself like putting yourself out there in the real world so that when that success comes through social media and people show up to your shows and they start listening to your music, you're prepared to take that on. Because I think for a lot of bands, getting that instant success from social media, you may not be completely prepared for that by the time when it happens to you because you haven't gone out and you haven't played your shows, you haven't learned to grow. And I'm so glad that there weren't people with cameras at our shows 10 years ago because I'm like, thank the Lord that wasn't on social media. So,
Yeah.
but I think there's a good balance in it. And I think every band has to figure out what works for them. We are people who very much love the road, and the road is the life that we have chosen. And that's not every band's dream. That's not every band's thing that gets them. You have to love it to do it. So I think every band should do what they love and be completely authentically themselves and on social media, off social media. But I think, it can be used as a tool. I don't think people would, they wouldn't come to our shows if we didn't post about them on Facebook or Instagram. They wouldn't come and see us play live. They wouldn't listen to our songs on Spotify. So I think there's a balance between the good and evil. You just got to find yours.
All right. And again, if you want to dive deeper into any of the songs we're talking about tonight, all of them are available on the episode page at myweeklymixtape.com. So let's dig into touring a little bit. As the band, as we talked about earlier, spent years on the road grinding it out. What feels different about going into a touring cycle in 2026 compared to the early days, sans the RV without heat or air conditioning?
Well, yeah, having air conditioning on the bus definitely
Yeah.
helps a whole lot. But I feel like we've been blessed to have some incredible people around this band recently. Our manager, Greg Bell, really just hit like we feel his presence every night. He does a lot of tour press for us, and he'll go and scour, in some of those Facebook groups and make sure that we're getting exposure in these markets. And that plus kind of the just consistency in pounding some of these markets, we're starting to see some breakthroughs, and we're getting some pre-sale ticket numbers that look a lot different than years in the past. And we still have a far way to go, but it's exciting, with seeing where we're at not being where we were, and it's encouraging and it's breathing new life into us. And we're just trying to be good stewards of each situation that God puts us in, and using that to further this thing. And as our platform grows, we're just hoping that our influence grows the same. And it's been really exciting. We're doing, I think, like 26
I think it's more than that now, like 30,
30
states.
30 states and 3 countries this year. And those are answered prayers, just to get to go and play our music all over the world. And we're just super invigorated with the opportunities ahead, and excited to see all the people along the way, and just knowing that every person who comes to the show, they'll be there for a reason. And we're getting to play with some awesome bands this year. We'll be supporting Blackberry Smoke in a couple weeks. We're playing with Driving and Crying down the road. We got a show with the Steep Water Band in Nashville coming up. Chesapeake Suns in Maryland coming up. Just some really cool bands. And 10 Ton Mojo's another band that we're playing with out of New York that
Nice.
we've done some shows with, and we just love those guys to death. So super stoked for everything that's coming up this summer, and just thankful for each and every opportunity that's come our way.
I want to tap into that a little bit. Given all the touring you've done over the years and the bands that you've shared bills with, has there been any bands or artists that have given you a new perspective, maybe something that's had a lasting positive impact on how Parker Barrow approaches either the live show or studio or just being a band in general?
Yeah, so there's
Every single one.
every single one. Every single one.
Yeah.
There's we did a tour last year in the UK with a band called The Damn Truth, and they were another husband and wife band. And getting to see them, they traveled, they toured with their son, and I mean they are a well-oiled machine, and it's just incredible to see. Really, the only other female fronted band that we played with, but getting to see how they work. I mean, they've been doing it for 12, 15 years, and they're selling out rooms in the UK, and just seeing what really true hard work does for these bands. Another one is Robert John the Wreck, who are just the most
Mhm.
hardworking individuals we've ever come encounter with. And they just watching them and how they work and their just commitment to their craft. And they put out more music than anyone I've ever met. And it's just like, how on earth do you do
And they
this?
never leave the road either.
They
They're
never
constantly
leave the
putting out
road.
music and constantly touring. It's amazing
But
what
it's
those
just
guys
like
do.
we've gotten very lucky with some of the bands we've had the opportunity of touring with because they are just like they are road warriors. They have been committed for upwards of 10, 15 years, and just seeing what that truly does for your career and staying with it. And it may be a slow ride, but the payoff is sweet. So it's like you kind of get that other side of things of like, we're working for something. This isn't just going nowhere. Like it was like this for them 5 or 10 years ago, that it was like this. You can kind of give yourself a little bit of hope out there to see bands work that hard and have it pay off for them. So it's exciting for us to see, and we're very thankful that we gotten that opportunity.
Well, in the spirit of mixtapes and playlists and keeping the musical conversation moving forward, and I'm
Mm.
going to ask this to each of you. What are 3 songs that you're rocking in 2026 that you think the people listening to this show should maybe have on their radar?
You
Go ahead.
Me?
You want me to go?
Yeah, you go
Okay.
first. Okay.
3 songs. I think one of my favorites right now is "In the Garden" by the band Feel. I'm gonna do 2 Feel songs because I really love their music and I love what they're doing. I think they're an awesome band and great guys. "In the Garden" and "Shoal Creek,"
Mm.
I think are 2 really cool songs that people absolutely like, they just have to be listening to. I think they're great, and a third, um, Robert John has a live record out. "Blame It on the Whiskey"
Uh,
is the name of the
Oh,
song. He has
yeah.
a live record out. I think it's from somewhere in Spain. It's like a gold record. Like the cover of it's gold, and the live version of "Blame It on the Whiskey" is so cool. They do like a super extended jam on it, and it's awesome. So yeah, I think those would be my 3 that like if I were suggesting songs for people to go and listen to, really anything by the band Feel,
anything by
but
the band. Anything by Robert John the Wreck.
yeah,
Anything by the damn truth.
yeah.
Those would be that I'm better at like since I truly don't listen to a ton of music. But I do listen to the bands that we are friends with, the
Yeah.
bands that we play with a lot. And like just those 3 bands, that's who I would share the love with. And really, I mean, any bands, there's them Dirty Roses out there, and they're another incredible band. I think they have some new songs coming out. So there's a lot of music out there to be heard. So if you haven't found anything you like yet, keep looking.
Check out some of those bands
Check out
for
some of
sure.
those bands.
Fantastic. Now, taking this full circle, when you think back to 2019 versus where you're sitting right now,
Mm.
what would you say had the biggest musical impact on shaping Hold the Mash as a complete album?
I honestly, I mean, I think it's just our time on the road is really what shapes our music, our experiences, and the things that we have to persevere through, and the things that we get to celebrate too, is the biggest. Even just like the soundtrack of our drives, what we're listening to, it seeps in. We do listen. We usually have the radio on when we're driving, and we do a lot of driving, so there's a lot of tunes that we hear. So I think it's just that time we spend as a band and just kind of getting through the day to day. It's different every day. There's no cookie cutter day on tour. You never know when the bus is going to break down or the brakes are going to lock up or the generator goes out or, you got something leaking something from somewhere, and you're crawling around. It's always something. And I think it's just those times. And our like endless efforts in getting to that next place that really shape our music and shape who we are as a band.
Hold the Mash is out now. You could grab it at weareparkerbarrow.com or stream wherever you listen. But if you've spent any time listening to My Weekly Mixtape, you already know where I stand. If you want your favorite bands to keep making music, support them directly. Pick up a copy on vinyl or CD. There's just something better about owning music, but I'll leave it at that. Megan and Dylan, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you both for joining me on My Weekly Mixtape.
Yes, thank you so much for having us, Brian.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
And to those listening, if there's a topic you'd like to hear on a future episode of My Weekly Mixtape, I want to know about it. Hit me up, myweeklymixtape@gmail.com, at My Weekly Mixtape on all the social media haunts, or use the contact page at myweeklymixtape.com. While you're there, there's a full back catalog of almost 200 episodes. You could check them all out. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube, wherever it is you're listening, quite honestly, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, leave a 5-star review, do all the things. Help spread the word about My Weekly Mixtape to the other music fans in your life. If you like what you're hearing on the show, you can also join the Mixtaper community at patreon.com/My Weekly Mixtape. It's free to join, and there's several tiers there available if you'd like to support the show a little extra, none of which is expected, any of which is appreciated. Once again, my name is Brian Colburn. This has been My Weekly Mixtape, and until next time, enjoy the tunes.